I'm very happy that you stopped by because there's something I really been watching that I want to talk about, and that's how much you guys are still talking about passing. What I should say is that some of you are talking about it while the rest of you are arguing about it. Even though my memory ain't what it used to be, I do kind of remember somebody on here asking. I thought passing meant to be safe. I didn't know it meant that everybody had to try to look cis. Years ago, before there was any visibility, we lived in the dark, we lived in the corners, we hid out at night. So passing meant you stayed safe, you had to be able to blend. You lived. But at the time, most people had no idea what a trans person was. Maybe they heard of it, maybe they saw a picture of Christine Jorgensen, whoever, but they never saw it. They never even looking for it. So it was so much easier back in the day to do what you call passing. It was much easier. People weren't doing this trans investigation stuff. Nobody was staring at you too long unless you really stood out. And why would you want to stand out? But now that you're all over the place, that you decided to be on television, to be in the government and everywhere, well now, how do you pass? Everyone's going to recognize you, and if you pass, you may pass for a minute, an hour, until you talk, until somebody gets to know you even a little. But the idea that somebody can go stealth, I don't believe it anymore. People are too, to steal a word from you kids, hip to the idea of trans. So they can see it. Once you know, you know. That's why they say a chaser can always clock you, because they know, they've seen, they understand. It's not they have a magic power. When you've been around something, you recognize it. You be around it, you say, oh, I know what that is. I've seen it before. Yeah. So, if you think that your passing is going to make some big difference now. Now, also, you don't want to confuse being able to pass with being pretty. Pretty doesn't mean you pass. Sometimes the most average looking people are the ones who pass the best. Dare to say somebody unattractive might even pass better. People aren't staring at the people who aren't trying too hard, too long. You pass right by, nobody's looking. Nobody's looking. They don't care. You don't stand out. That's what happens too. As you get a little older, who's looking? You become invisible. Every year that passes, a little more invisible unless you're desperate for attention and are making a spectacle of yourself. Can't blame everybody else because you made a spectacle. No, that ain't right. That ain't right. Don't do it. Don't do it. A really great therapist I went to many years ago told me that nobody passes 100% of the time. So to focus on passing, what you got to do is always put yourself in the mind of somebody else. You end up spending all your time looking at everybody else to see if they're giving you any sign that they know something about you that you don't want them to know. And that makes you kind of crazy because you're always thinking about it. Do they know? Do they know? Who knows? Do they know? Who cares? Eventually you just gotta live. What are you gonna do? Let me tell you this. Just because you were out somewhere, in a store maybe, and nobody looked at you too long or made a nasty comment, doesn't mean you passed. It means that people didn't make a scene. You don't know what other people recognized or thought. It's impossible to know. So you got to feel your confidence. You got to know I'm walking confidently in the world so that people, have some respect for me. Yeah, respect me. To spend any time worrying whether you pass or you don't pass means that you're spending too much time living for other people, not yourself. Don't get a single procedure, not a single surgery. Don't take a hormone or anything else because you want to do it for somebody else. You want to look better for somebody else. You want to be attractive to somebody else. Everything you do during this transition, during your life, you should do only because you want to, and it makes you feel better in the world, in your body. Every day walking around happier because you did it. Who cares if somebody else likes it? Who cares if somebody else thinks it's nice? You gotta live with it. You gotta be good with it. You just can't be always thinking, oh, I'll get this because he'll like me better, or I'll get this and people will think I'm prettier. Who cares? They say you're pretty. They talk about you behind your back. You can never control other people. Don't even put a minute into it. Other people are going to do exactly what they want to do. Nothing you can do to change it. Because half the time they're blaming you for whatever they're doing instead of saying, it's my discomfort. They don't take any responsibility. So don't take responsibility for the way they feel and think. You got to look out for yourself and be happy. So own your own transition, own your life, but don't spend a minute thinking about other people. You'll be fine. When you feel confident, you look beautiful. Trust me, trust me, trust me. I know you don't know me, but you should trust me. I'm old. All right, kids. I got to go take my Geridol. I'm exhausted. Okay. Have a good night now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.